Because they are, in a sense, they are fighting the leadership.
So you have this kind of pan out in the group executive coaching sessions as well.
Yes.
Right?
Everything that we'll be talking about, you will see at one point or the other happening in a group executive session. I will almost guarantee you that. If not the first session, you'll have it in the second session, not the third, you'll have it in the fourth. You will see the leadership come up, the need for leadership, you need the need for recognition, need for authority, need for control, need for power. You will see relationships develop within the group. We talked about some of that in the morning.
Egos play.
Egos play.
Yeah.
You will see all that stuff happening in the group. You just can't stop it. Because yes, you may think that, oh, you're all at your computer terminals and you're all connected. There are people behind those. And if you have a trained eye and you know what at least to look out for, not that you're going out there seeking it and then putting it on saying, and this is why the group is not working. But if you know, if you can see that behavior happening and recognize that behavior and just keep it, and don't, even if you don't address it directly with them, at least you know what's happening and what you can do to supplement that. You cannot totally stop that. Anytime a group is working above the surface, there's always who was talking about the invisible? You were talking about the invisible organization, right? The informal organization, the grapevine. Everything that's happening informally. That's what we call the dark underbelly of the organization, where things are not talked about. And assume the political structure of the organization, where a lot of the stuff is unspoken. So let's bring you back to the case study and see what was happening in that case study that perhaps was unspoken prior to this guy Goldberg coming in as a consultant. Why was the situation so much out of control? And they were making, I mean, one hint I'll give you, they were making a lot of money.
No innovation,
No innovation? Yeah.
no openness to new ideas.
Right?
See, there was no crisis. There was no need. I mean, there it ended up being a crisis. But if you're making a lot of money, which is how most organizations judge themselves, then you're doing something right. Right. So they could afford to just coast along.
Right.
And nothing was imploding or exploding. External signs looked great, so it could just fester and fester and fester for whatever it was, 30 years, right?
And then it comes to a point where they know their growth is leveling off now. They're not going to be able to make that much.
I think something that was understated was that the group is now successful. Okay, this is a team, right? This is the executive team.
And success as in measured by the money. Okay. Which is okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, companies, hey, what's the bottom line? We're making money.
But this team was together, okay, and came as a team and worked as a team and was successful as a team. And then suddenly some dynamics could change, which they haven't thought of. Which could kind of take the team in a different direction.
Right.
And not make the company successful. And that's understated, right? It's I, me, myself. This team's really not playing a role, as Elliot. I, me, myself. I mean, everyone will state it's me. I'm not dependent on someone else, which is the silo mentality.
Yeah.
And that could bring down the organization.
Totally bring down the organization.
That was very understated.
The silo mentality. Why do people get territorial?
I think the leader was, in some sense, creating that situation.
Of course, he was creating the culture.
By getting
it's very obvious.
Four people to focus on the same task.
Yeah.
So creating a lot of internal competition and insecurity amongst people.
Right.
Also, in some sense, not being respectful or honoring to those senior executives who are all successful, because he's putting forth. he's creating, he created a culture of mistrust, because in one sense, you know, if you're putting 4 people to do a task, you're telling all the 4 that, you know, I don't know which one of you will get it, and I actually don't trust any one of you. So I'm creating this competition, let's see who gets ahead.
You read the expression negative capability. What are some thoughts that are getting stirred up in your mind? Negative, be very honest. Okay.
Empty.
Negative and capability. Look at negative and capability.
They seem opposite in a way.
Oxymoron?
Yeah. I mean, you know, we
Cancel each other out?
Kind of, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So they say, hey, I want you to enhance your negative capabilities. He's going to look at you funny, man. You must be dreaming. What the hell are you talking about? What negative capability? Because negative is the negative connotation.
Yeah.
Right? So the origin of negative capability,
You're right.
right? That's right, don't worry, we should be okay. It was coined by the famous English romantic poet John Keats.
Wow.
When he was only 22 years old, okay? A peculiar state in which a person is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without any irritable reaching after fact and reason. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Suggests a peculiarly human capacity for containment, to live with and tolerate ambiguity and paradox, and remain content with half knowledge. To tolerate anxiety and fear, to stay in uncertainty in order to allow for new thoughts and perceptions. Engage in a non-defensive way with change without being overwhelmed by the ever-present pressure to react. Now I'm going to open this forum for you as coaches, as consultants, as senior leaders in your organizations. Does some of this stuff grab you as something that you either do enough of or not do enough of in your work? And you think it's germane to the work that you do? And you also feel that this could be a very important competency if you're working with a group of people? Okay?
Actually, this is also the bedrock of creativity.
Of course.
And actually, I need to also elaborate on that, because also this is maybe something we're going to see in the groups.
Yes.
I have had some coaches telling me, you know, I don't know where we're going. After the first session, I need to know what is the plan, where we're going, and so I do that. I give them a plan that we're not going to follow,
Yeah.
but they are happy.
Exactly.
Exactly, placebo.
I like
Isn't that an interesting scenario?
Yeah. Because this might also occur in a group, actually. People
Yeah,
don't
yes.
know
They're
why
looking-
they're here
We're all
for.
asking.
Because we are looking for an anchor always. We are looking for an anchor, something to hang our hat on. It's very difficult when you don't have that.
An example which
Yeah.
which happened. This is about a client who wanted a program,
Yeah.
and we were just sort of given a very, very short brief. So we sent out the proposal, and the client came back saying, no, this is not good, we want something else, this is what I want, this is what I want. So quickly went into and changed the proposal, spoke to my other associates, sent it out, came back again, no, this is not what I want. Again, started to go into that space and say, okay, let's change it, let's do this. And then at some point of time, one of my associates said, wait a minute, why don't we just have a call with the client? I mean, it's so simple, right? But there was this need to show what you know, or to please the client, or to get the right proposal. I mean, I think it took us a week. Ashley knows the case.
Yeah.
It took us a week to you know, this up and down, trying to, you know, fill in the right things and not the right things, where actually all we needed to do was, you know, ask the client, you know, what is it that you really want? And once we did that, you know, it was very clear.
Okay.
Did I give another question?
Yeah, sure.
How the next, sorry.
No, no, no. It was just a question for, do you think actually calling the client was an action? Was just calling the client also an action?
No, actually it wasn't, because it opened out. Because earlier the brief was coming through the training people.
Yeah.
It was not coming directly from the
From the
client.
client.
So the moment we said, you know, let's just have a conversation with the client, and yeah, it just opened out everything.
Yeah, so I had another personal situation where, so my young son has this habit that, you know, he kind of puts his pen in the mouth, and it's a bad habit, and he's trying to get rid of it. And so, you know, some of his friends around, so they can be bullies, right? So they're like, oh, you know, you're an untouchable, we don't want to, you know, talk to you, run away from him and stuff like that. So he was telling me this, and you know, what did you call it? Disperse actions? Oh.
Disperse into action,
Yeah,
right.
okay, and assumptions. And I have in this mind, I'll call the teacher, I'll speak to this one. So, and my son, and then when I just get quiet and paused, he said, I have an idea. What if I go and, you know, stand up in front of the class and say, okay, Kern's called me an untouchable. But you know why he's called me an untouchable? Because I'm unstoppable, because I'm so great, I'm better than him. I was like,
awesome.
So I was like, are you really going to do that? He said, of course. That is why he's calling me an untouchable. I was like, that's victory, son. You should just go do it. So he actually did it yesterday. And some of the class actually clapped. But I just thought that the negative capability that we have, those assumptions that we're going on making in our own minds, kind of flips it. You know, so I just as soon as you said it, I was like, that's the one. So that was
Good example. Yeah.
I mean, I'm again taking this from my workplace, so I try to frequently communicate. I would like to believe that I'm creative at work, so trying to put a new bent towards, you know, the traditional processes which we do follow and make it a little more creative and fun.
That's one.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think I'm a fairly good communicator. So I don't know how we put that, but I don't know if that's too specific a skill, but it's, you know, and knowing what level to operate at.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think if you're in a boardroom, you talk at one level. If you're sitting with somebody else, you know.
So appropriate communication, situational.
Maybe I adapt.
Adaptable communication.
Yeah. Situation.
Do you feel comfortable with that one?
Yeah, and I don't know, is it communication or is it about the whole thing? It's situational kind of. Like I can be quiet if I need to, or I can take a leading role if I need to. So what is that situation?
Adaptable, flexible.
Style? What style?
No, but it has to do a lot with communication.
It's communication, but it's also just how you sit in a room, right? Isn't it?
It's about taking on different roles depending on the need, right? So if there's a need for you to play one role or the other role.
I would say for all of us though, we need to as a group think about leadership style, because this, whether we're the management team or the board people.
So got it all.
I would say decisiveness.
Decisiveness.